But Terry, I've got a question for you, bro, because you know how you mentioned earlier about Chelsea obviously got rid of a lot of players last year, and it doesn't always work when you get rid of everyone. But looking at your team, bro, there's a lot of dead wood in your team, yeah. If you bring in the right quality, bro, it could actually go the other way, you know, where it's like, okay, we've got rid of a lot of players, but these guys are just not good anyway. So what would you do if it's up to you? Would you want to keep the Scots and that KJ, Terry, one of you, bro? It doesn't matter who answers it, but or would you want to you know, like bring in like 2-3 people and then keep the Scots and whatnot, just to like fade them out a little bit more?
No, I'm with Nobbins here. So Nobbins mentioned a big reset. Ches mentioned a big reset. I'm on board with that. I think for too long we've been trying to do this slow phase out process with these players. Well, let's give them a new contract for an extra 3 years to withhold their value, and hopefully someone will buy them. We need to burn all of that. It needs to be scorched earth. I listed on the squad 15 players that should just go. That just need to go. 15. Like, if we could get them gone this summer, that'd be great. I don't know if we can, but there's 15 men, whether it be Sancho, obviously Mason Greenwood, Casemiro, all the way down to like your Van der Breaks, your Palestris. All of these guys need to be gone. Then you have a core squad of players where you're like, okay, where do we stand with these guys? Maybe these guys can become good in a year. Maybe these are the players that we can build around, like Mainu, like Hojlund, like Garnacho, so on and so forth. We need to do that. And then we need to buy 8. Because I'm not, to be honest, next season isn't the season for me to be looking at challenging for the league. Isn't to be looking for winning the Premier League. Next season for me is literally ground zero reset year, where we're just building with a squad, with a team. And Terry mentioned it. We can't keep chopping and changing each season. And we've been doing that for 10 years. So if we just say, if you just came in and said, right, this is the first proper absolute reset, ground zero reset that we're going to do. We're going to pick a coach that we want to build with. If it's Ten Hag, actually show intent of keeping him, giving him a contract, even if you won't like it. If it's not, bring in the guy you can see for a good 2, not even 2 years, 3 to 4 years building with the squad. Bring in the players that we need to give us a foundation, and let's just go. Because no Man United fan is expecting the Champions League. We're not expecting the Premier League. What we are expecting is a change in culture, a change in play style, and a change in mentality. That's all we're looking for next season.
Who's your man to lead these players that you're going to bring in then? Who would you bring in?
Well, it's not Ten Hag, so I'm not one of those people that would keep him around. I think his time is done. I think, again, just like people think Rashford, like Bruno, Maguire, McTominay are a symbol of the old culture and the old system, I believe Ten Hag is the last remnants of obviously a Glazer manager. So just move him on, because we don't need that, and bring someone fresh. I personally think Amorim would be a great appointment. I don't think we're looking at him, but someone like him who's got a good track record, he's got a good style to play, he's proven that he can win things. I think over a 4-year period, you could give him the tools to win. If not, then we might have to go really inexperienced and go close to what Arsenal were doing and go grab a McKenna. Go grab someone.
You don't want Zerbi?
Zerbi, McKenna, like grab someone that's not particularly the greatest, but you can grow with them.
Yeah, the question with managers is a real difficult one, because we don't know what we're trying to do as a club yet. So
that's true.
If, for instance, we want a style of football that suits a De Zerbi, then De Zerbi's high up on my list. I'm someone that thinks he's a very, very, very talented manager. I don't understand the criticism that he's got this year. I think it's far, unlike Pep and Klopp and all the other top managers. This man over the last 2 years has lost his best players every summer, and the club doesn't replace like for like. They have a model, and it turns out this is why he's leaving, because he wants the model to change slightly to buy more experienced players so he can keep growing Brighton. Brighton's not in that phase of their club yet. And I get Brighton's model is perfect for them because they're trying to slowly increase their revenues over time. They're not going to make a stupid mistake like some fans ask them to do. Overspend, and then end up with FFP breaches and losing money and potential ruin. It'd be crazy. So I sort of look at it, I'd like De Zerbi. I'm not against the idea of McKenna. I'm not against the idea of Thomas Frank. I'm not against the idea of Tuchel. There's a question mark over all of them. And no matter who we get linked to, people will laugh. No matter who it is, there'll be a section of football fans who will laugh. I trust the people making the decisions now at the club. I 100% trust them based on their CV and their track record. With Blanc there, with Borrada coming in, Dan Ashworth's track record, Wilcox's track record. I'm just not going to show my arse on this and start panicking. I'm going to give it some time to, as we said in the studio the other week, sort of disseminate together and see the future of the Labour. Germinate, I think the word we use, because for me, it's a case of I've got what I want. So what I've been asking for a decade is football decision makers to come in. So I almost feel a bit greedy asking for even more of what I want. It's like this for me, and I've said it for 10 years and it's been practically ignored. The people that run the club, in some respects, are some of the most important people at football clubs nowadays. And it gets ignored too much. A lot of football fans just think, buy some good players, get a good manager, you'll win. You might win. Look at Spurs this season. Some decent players they bought. Really good manager in terms of style of football. Because the structure isn't exactly where you want it to be, because the club hasn't been run great for 4, 5, 6 years, it can only take you so far. It's so much more that needs to happen. It's the people that run the club. Pep's one of the massive reasons why they've just done a 4-peat. But everybody that's been helping to run that club since 2009 is every bit as important as Pep and Rodri and Foden, because you build that foundation. So I've got what I want there. I'm going to put a bit of faith in them when it comes to who they bring in. But if I was to get my way, if I'm being selfish, I have all the managers. It's Zerbi who stands out the most to me personally. I really do feel that with proper backing and a team that has got the ability to keep spending to get to, because we have got money to spend and you have to spend, we can grow over time and keep adding to what he wants. I think there's a manager in there who could deliver major trophies at some point in his career. I think he's that good.
Yeah, and I'm just a quick one on the signings. Obviously we spoke. Elise obviously is class, and I would, if we get him for the right wing, I'm gonna be gassed. I would rip that 7 shirt off Mount's back real quick and give it to Elise and then see what he does. But in terms of Tony, I think Tony's a smart signing, not because he's a good striker as well, but what Rasmus Hojlund needs in front of him and what you could learn from Tony is, I think, will be beneficial to us in the long run. Now we know that he's got an ego. We know he's got some kind of attitude and maybe some off-field issues that potentially could arise. But we need some kind of ego. We need some kind of attitude in this Man United squad, because we're weak. We're flaccid. We're just timid right now. And I think someone like Tony coming in saying to Hojlund that, listen, here's how you play. Here's how your overall game can play, because no one's doubting Hojlund's finishing, no one's doubting his pace and his work ethic, but it's the things outside of the box that people are asking for: the dribbling, the vision, the passing, the hold up play. Tony is so good at that, and if he can pass that on to Hojlund over the next, like, say we go him a 4-year contract, get him to this 32, I think that could work out in the long run for Manchester United. So this is what I mean. Like, this is why I'm happy with the direction we're kind of going in, is that I can see the vision with what they're trying to do.
Kate, I'm conscious you haven't spoke yet.
I was just going to ask a question. I was just going to ask what's going to happen about Old Trafford, because I mean it's it's a joke amongst everybody that it's falling down. So surely there's going to have to be investment into Old Trafford as well.
That's all happening. I mean, again, this is the things some United fans just don't read. I mean, that the work's already begun around what to do. The club's deliberating between whether at the same location they build a new 100,000-seater stadium or whether they redevelop Old Trafford. What's really interesting for me is, because it's at the same location, I actually don't care. Because if we redevelop the whole thing, it isn't going to look like Old Trafford anyway. So you might as well, it's cheaper to just build a new one literally next door to it. So that's going to happen. I mean, there's no point in the ownership spending 20 or 30 million pound fixing all the leaks just to knock it down again. That would be short term. That's stupid. Waste. I'd rather that money go into a player. I'd rather it go into the women's team. I'd rather it go into the academy. But there will be under Ineos a new or rejuvenated stadium, and they're looking to push it to 100,000-seater. Which for me, those are the things that get me excited as a United fan, because I do think it plays a part in how players that you want to sign feel, players at the club feel. We've seen the Newcastle players talk about it. These guys 2 years ago were doing ice baths in paddling pools from Argos outside. That was their ice baths. And the message that sends to the players, like, we ain't serious. Like Man United players with old facilities, old this, old that. When you see the stadium leaking, piss everywhere, that does not send a good message, and it's an embarrassment. So you suddenly say, look, this new stadium is going to be here in 2 years, 3 years. It's going to look like this. It's going to hold 100. And that for me is the thing. If they break that 100,000-seater mark and it becomes the biggest stadium in Europe, it's just, these are the things that Man United should be doing. We are the biggest in terms of fan base club in England. We're one of the biggest in the world. we should start bloody well acting like it. On Tony, I agree. I'd love him at the club. I just want to answer, before we move on to Chelsea, I want to say about the players leaving. I totally agree with Anthony. It's hard. But there's a lot of players that are going to be leaving this summer that are going to free up a lot of money. Anthony Martial's gone, contract's up. That's £250,000 a week back into the coffers. Varane will be sold. I think a deal's pretty much already lined up for him. That's 340,000.
Doesn't mean Casemiro.
And Varane's leaving as well.
Yeah, but he's free. He's contract's run out.
Finishing.
Yeah.
So the website I was on said that he's got until 2025. Maybe we didn't extend it and they put the extension in there, but he's going. It frees up the salary, so he's already gone as an example. Yeah. You've got Casemiro. Well, last summer, the Saudi clubs wanted him. I'm not actually concerned about selling him at all. I think the Saudi clubs or the MLS clubs will come in and pay something for him, and that frees up another.
As well, and you get that money up front.
That also is another £350,000 a week. Jadon Sancho will go this summer, in my opinion. That's £200,000 a week. Then when you start moving on to everybody else at the club, the only two who are on big money that I worry about, Bruno and Rashford, if we're going to sell them, we will sell them. People will buy those two football players, in my opinion. It's just Mount on 200,000 and Anthony that I worry about as an example. But they're the only two, and I believe that Mount will probably stay next year, so that's one that you'll put to the side. Anthony's one of those deals where I think we might sell him. We'll lose money on him, but as KJ said, it's scorched earth time. You lose that money on a player. Our biggest problem under the Glazers with the Glazonomics was we're not going to sell now. We're going to hold on to him in case his stock rises and we can make a profit later on down the line. The money came before the football all the time, and I just get the feeling that Ineos, with the new people running, it'll be different. So I'm not that worried. And all the other players, the Lindelofs of this world and McTominay's, these guys ain't on that much money. They're not on 200, 300 grand a week. They're not going to be overly difficult to sell. Like Lindelof isn't great, but there's lots of clubs around Europe that would buy him. These players will go to other football clubs. Donny van der Beek I'm worried about getting rid of because I know everyone said it was, he's a baller and he should be starting over Bruno Fernandes, but everywhere he goes, no one wants him at the end of it. Like that's also a difficult one. But he ain't on that much money. What is he on? £73,000 a week, according to this website. It's money, but it isn't crazy, if that makes sense. But yeah, I'm not that worried about that. But viewers, look, we'd love to get your views.